Hi friends, in this video we are discussing about the Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. Virginia Woolf is one of the most important female voices in English literature. She boldly challenged the centuries-old male-dominated literary world. In A Room of One's Own, Woolf presents a deep and critical analysis about women's right to write literature, the conditions necessary for such a right, and the need for gender equality and inner freedom. The book is based on two lectures Woolf delivered in 1928 at Newham College and Girton College. Woolf strongly argues that, just like men, women also need suitable circumstances to write. The central claim of this work is a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. Let's discuss background and purpose of the work. As Woolf herself praises it, if a woman wants to become a writer, she needs £500 and pounds a year and a room of her own. For a woman's intellectual freedom to flourish, first and foremost, she needs safety and financial independence in her daily life. Woolf sharply observes how women's history has been sidelined in the field of literature and how cultures have either ignored or excluded them. Therefore, A Room of One's Own is not just an awakening for women, it's a message to the entire society, calling it to rethink its intellectual structures. Historical suppression. In her book, Woolf imagines a fictional sister of Shakespeare named Judith Shakespeare. She argues that if Judith had received the same opportunities as William Shakespeare, she too would have become a great writer. But Judith was not allowed to write at home. Her talents were ignored and eventually she lost her life. Through this metaphor, Woolf sheds light on the oppressive societal structures that erased women's voices from history and literature. She wants women's self-culture and world view to break free from the grip of patriarchal control. Absence of women in literature. Woolf laments the fact that women's experiences have been absent from literature. History has been written by men and therefore women's lives have been ignored or misrepresented. In most novels, women appear only as instruments of romance, not as whole human beings. Due to the lack of education, the inability to read freely, and the denial of space to write, women's voices were scattered and silenced. Woolf emphasizes that if women had voices, they were often forced into silence. Education and economic freedom. Woolf details her personal experiences during visits to Cambridge University. Women were not allowed to enter libraries. They lacked proper facilities in educational institutions. The male society had effectively excluded women. She insists to write, a woman needs money, that financial independence frees her from dependency on others. Only then can she think freely and creatively. Next, we are discussing about the gender identity beyond gendered thinking. Woolf explores the concept of the women's inner voice. To explain this, she introduces the idea of androgyny. This means a creative state where both masculine and feminine energies coexist. A true writer should not confine themselves to a single gender perspective. Instead, they should create a new harmony by embracing both. Similarly, women too should not be restricted to their gender but must embrace a universal, inclusive form of thinking. This breaks the barriers of gender thought and opens up new realms of interpretation. A review of women writers. Woolf carefully analyzes the lives and works of women writers such as Jane Austen, Emily Bronte, and George Eliot. Their writings reflect the world they live in, the voices that try to silence them, and their inner quest for liberation. Woolf remarks, these women didn't just express that what was allowed to be said, they also wrote the silence within them. Woolf's guidance for modern women writers. In the 21st century, opportunities for women have significantly expanded. Yet, patriarchal structures still persist. Woolf emphasizes that women need a world of their own to write, to think, and to live freely. On this path, women must find their own voices. They must share their experiences and emotions with the world. Through that sharing, writing becoming a process of liberation, contemporary relevance, and influence. A room of one's own remains relevant even today. Across the world, women continue to strive for the right to write and think freely. In many countries, their basic rights are still being denied. Woolf's ideas continue to echo in today's discussions on gender, literature, and freedom. This transformation of society, which historically confined women within cultural and ritualistic boundaries, is still a necessity. The voice that gave continues to inspire a guide modern writers. Next, we are discussing criticisms and perspectives. Woolf's book has not been without criticism. Some argue that it has blind spots related to class. Others say it does not represent the realities of rural or working class women. Nevertheless, a room of one's own is still read and revered as the text that inspired women to think independently. Its language and philosophical depth are powerful and thought provoking. A room of one's own is a timeless and vital feminist voice. Virginia Woolf was not only trying to make women readers, she was trying to make them thinkers and writers. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.